Hey guys, welcome to Herding Little Cows to the Glory of God. I'm Sarah. This is my oldest daughter, if you haven't been around. This is Virginia, her husband Wayland. This is my youngest baby, and she's got a baby, my grandson. There's sirens outside. Okay, what?
No.
Okay, so anyway, if you haven't been here before, I'm Sarah, I'm 41. We just had our baby Elisha number 10, and also in the house is Mark, my husband.
Hi.
And he's behind the camera. And we have 8 children living in the house. Sorry.
9 girls.
It was 7, like not in the womb up until 11 days ago. And Virginia is home visiting, but she usually lives in Tennessee. Because, can you say hi?
Say hi.
He's like, nope. Virginia got married just over a year ago and has a baby due in July. So just a year and 2 months after the wedding, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, can't do math tonight. So I thought that we'd sit down and do an interview with these two about marriage and the good, the bad, and the ugly. But it's all going to be G-rated, so it's fine for everyone to watch. So
She didn't tell me it was the good, the bad, and the ugly.
the good, the bad, and the ugly.
I'm already behind the camera. I'm the ugly.
We don't even know the questions.
Yeah, it's a
Marriage,
surprise.
I didn't know that much.
Okay, so
I'm gonna zoom in a little bit more. A little more to your heads instead of... Yeah, there you go.
first,
Perfection.
quickly. So the Cliff Notes. You guys don't know what Cliff Notes are. They were homeschooled. The Cliff Notes. Quickly, how did you guys meet? Like just a quick, how did you guys meet? How we did courtship to the wedding. Not like, we have a whole section on this. We'll link it below. But okay. Either one of you.
Go ahead.
Okay, you go see mommy. Okay, quick version. 4 years ago, my family was traveling through, we were traveling through Tennessee on our way to, like, Florida or something, Georgia. And we were visiting a church. He came and visited church that day, too, because that's where his family was moving. And we met, and then you came up to Maine in 2021. 2021, a friend of his needed a vacation and asked Waylon if he wanted to tag along. So he came up, they stayed for like a week, and then you came up in September. And that's when we were like interested, right? That's when we became interested in each other. We started courting the following September, so September 2022. He came up here, we went down to Tennessee. We were courting for like 7 or 8 months. And then we got engaged and got married in May.
That's the quick of it.
Are you looking for a timeline or how that works?
No, that's okay. That's the quick of it. Okay, so both of you, this was your first real relationship. So, that was something courtship.
With marriage intended.
Right. Courtship is the idea of marriage intended and parents involved. I guess would be the easy way to say it. Okay. Sorry, gotta look at the camera. It's hard because they're over here. So guys.
Hi, camera.
What was the best piece of advice you got about marriage? And that could have been something you heard when you were a kid, something you heard before you were married, or even something that has helped in your marriage now that you got after marriage. Does that make sense?
I didn't get these questions ahead of time. Give
Nope.
me a second. You go first. You're the leader in this. Husbands are the leaders in marriage. That means they answer questions first.
The best piece of advice that we got or I got.
Mark.
I think probably the most useful that we've gotten, or that I got and heard growing up a little bit was, I don't know about growing up maybe, but listening to one another, and because we're both very different in the way we think, and we both come from very different backgrounds. We were raised similar, but it's very different in also another sense. So I think listening to one another when it comes to hard times.
Yeah. Communication and...
That's the word. Communication. That's the word I couldn't think of.
And this is why you have to communicate. The one thing that comes to my mind right now is... Just a sec. What? I just had it.
Communication.
I know.
On the tip
Oh,
of her tongue.
setting good habits. That was it. Setting good habits early. Because you can fall into, well, this is just how we've always done things, but actually being intentional, like starting out reading the Bible together and having prayer time and things like that. So setting good habits at the start of your marriage instead of waiting for them to come later.
Mm-hmm.
That's what comes to mind right now.
It's a good one. Okay, next question. What is something that, so this is kind of self-serving for me. What is something that you saw in your parents' relationship that you wanted to follow in your own marriage? Something that you saw your parents doing well, if that makes sense. I know that there's things we did wrong, so we don't have to talk about those ones. Just the things
You
we
said
did.
the good, the bad, and the ugly. Only the ugly parts of our marriage?
Yes.
Oh, okay. One thing that I think of now is actually like showing you love one another and talking together and letting your marriage be foremost in company. Like actually talking to one another and people being able to see they are a couple who loves one another in public.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Does it have to pertain? Okay.
For your parents, something you
Yes.
saw in your parents that
You're
you
not
were
allowed to
like,
steal theirs.
I
Or
want that to be in my marriage too.
Okay. Well, I was gonna say one thing that I really appreciate about my parents was just the intentionally raising our children in a way that we knew how to work, how to they prepared us for what was ahead. So that's one thing that, in a sense, that both did that in marriage together.
But
Specifically,
the children come from marriage.
yes, the
so.
children, yeah. Specifically, that my parents did. Oh man, I'm on the spot
The
here.
next question's easier.
Oh, okay.
Should we move on to the next question? And then come back.
No, one thing that I really appreciated my dad doing and both my parents doing was they made it later in my when I was older, they made a real emphasis on family worship and things like that. And so that was one thing that I looked at, was like, okay, this is what I want our family to also do, is family worship and that sort of thing. And my dad did a good job at making sure there was an emphasis and an importance of that.
Okay, well, so we're gonna skip to another question, because when you said that, what does family worship look like? Because we might have young couples watching this that don't have kids yet, because our family worship looks a certain way because we have kids in the household too. So what does it look like without kids in the household right now?
So for ours.
You two,
For us
the two
right
of you right now.
That's a good question.
So usually
Like you don't have an answer?
No, we have
That's a good question.
That's a good question, as in we can answer that one.
I feel like usually our prayer time doesn't go along with our family worship time, because we'll do that before he leaves for work or just
Before we
different
go to
times
bed.
during the day. So prayer time tends to be separate, and then right now we're going through a chronological Bible, so we read however many chapters, however it's broken up, we read a day's worth of that, and if something stands out, we'll talk about that. Or Sunday mornings when we're getting ready for church, he'll read to me passages, either just long passages of scripture or what we're going to be going through at church that day. And then sometimes we'll get out the hymnal and sing together.
Yeah, it's kind of mixed up a little bit. I mean, we haven't really set this is what we do. It's more so we just for sure spend time to do it. We will we'll for sure read our chronological Bible. Before we start a chronological Bible, we were just going through a book at a time, like the small epistles, and we just read one chapter at a time. So it kind of looks different, but we for sure read a section of scripture. We don't even sometimes we'll break it down and talk about it. She'll say something that stood out to her, I'll say something that stood out to me. Sometimes we just, with the chronological Bible, we just read it and say, oh, that was really good. It doesn't have to be anything in depth necessarily, but we pick what we out of it, kind of what we got out of it. And then we'll sing a hymn, not every single time, but we enjoy singing hymns by family worship. And then prayer time is most of the time right before we're going to bed, because that's when we're both together and we're both relaxing in a sense. Or it'll be right before I leave for work.
Yeah.
And then I really appreciate Sunday morning. I really enjoy it if we get up early enough. Sometimes we don't get up early enough because
You have to work during the week.
we're slacking a little bit. But no, I enjoy getting up Sunday morning early enough where we're both ready to go. We both sit down. We have like an hour or 30 minutes that we can just read whatever. So we'll just pick a small epistle and we'll just read the whole epistle through. And it kind of gets your mind prepared for worship that day.
And that's our time together. We also do our own time separately. You do it before you leave for work. Like, while I get his breakfast and lunch ready. And then I do it after he goes to work.
Mm-hmm.
Very good. Okay, here's an easier question. What is your fondest memory, each separately, your fondest memory of during your courtship?
Father, falls, engagement.
Wait, does engagement count?
Yes.
It was still courting until you said yes, and then it became engagement. Well, yeah.
It's okay. You
Okay,
can count the
yeah.
whole. You can count the whole from the time you started courting until you got married.
Mm-hmm.
So any of that time.
I mean, like, I think engagement was the most exciting part because it was like a definitive, we're moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
But things we did, I really enjoyed having our prayer times together. That was like just the two of us. That was something that we did.
Yep.
Yeah, I enjoyed. Let's see, during the courtship, man, I feel like I've done so much without, like, before the courtship, because I was fixing to say, like, when I would come up here and, like, we'd go do stuff, it was, like, see things.
Oh, you can add one of those. Something you did with her, even when you weren't courting. You were hoping to be courting.
Hoping to be courting. I think I enjoyed just going to the beach together and, like, getting to see you interact with the kids and stuff. I think that was fun. And then we get to throw rocks and do all kinds of stuff.
We have one child whose favorite activity is throwing rocks. So.
Oh, yes. We went to the beach one day, and he was trying to find these big crabs, and I was so I found this bigger crab, like bigger than the ones he had been finding. So I called Laura to pick it up, and turns out it was on the beach so big because it was dead. And so pick up a dead crab.
Okay.
Not all of our beach memories
So
are so fun,
next question, separately. It can be the same memory, but these are separate for you guys. Favorite memory while married?
Oh.
I know there's been a lot. It's been a whole year.
We've done a lot.
We have done a lot.
Honey?
Go
ahead.
Sorry.
No?
I really enjoy telling him I'm pregnant. That's really fun. Does that count?
Those are fun
Being able to
memories.
tell him I'm
Yes.
pregnant.
The honeymoon was really great because we got to go see so much. Like, it wasn't just like a week sort of thing. Like, we took like a whole month and we went to the Smoky Mountains. We went to the Blue Ridge Mountain Parkway, Blue Ridge Parkway. We went out to Niagara Falls. We went out to Ohio. We got to see so much and enjoy so much time together without work and daily life, that sort of thing. So I think the honeymoon was probably a really fun time. We got to go horse riding. Then
That was really fun.
that was a lot of fun.
Stay in a cabin out in the middle of nowhere.
Stay in a cabin out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, I was so excited because we had heard that there was like moose and stuff up at the cabin.
Elk.
And
Oh, moose at that cabin.
the other cabin.
I'm thinking the other cabin.
No, the cabin up here in Maine. And so I had heard that there was moose, and we were like 4 miles from any neighbors, and in the middle of the night, we woke up, and I'm like, I hear a noise. This is like, maybe there's a moose out there. And it was a very distant dirt bike. I was very disappointed that we did not get to hear a moose.
It was also fun, it was also fun to get to move into our apartment because before we left on our honeymoon, the apartment was not finished. So it was fun to finally, like, we had worked up to building our apartment and all this stuff, and it was fun to be able to be like, this is ours. We're like, it's kind of official at that point. Like, we're now starting. Like, the honeymoon was
It wasn't
great.
official.
The marriage was official, but it was like, okay, we're actually starting a family now. Like, we have a home. And so that was a lot of fun to get to move into the apartment and enjoy the fruit of our labor before then, all that.
Yes, because Wayland had worked on the apartment for quite a while before they moved in.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he built the apartment into a barn.
Yeah.
That
built
was
a barn
really
into
fun.
an apartment.
I really enjoyed being able to help him with that. I didn't do much. But when I got to help him, that was really fun.
Okay.
I wasn't good at carpentry. Not that I'm good now, but he showed me how to use a few more tools.
Okay, next question. What was something going into marriage that you thought was going to be hard that was easy? Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
In your mind,
the
you
first
thought this was
thing,
going to be
yeah,
difficult.
the first thing right off my mind, I really thought like getting comfortable around each other in a sense as a married couple was going to be hard, like awkward in a sense. But I think like right off the get go, like it was like completely easy. Like
It was
completely.
like we used to spend all of our time or most of our time in groups with family, that sort of thing. So being
no hand holding, no.
no
Yeah.
hand holding
No.
us.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually, I don't know if I thought it was going to be difficult, but I was surprised how easy it was for me to share a bed. Because I didn't sleep in a bed with siblings. And just
She
my
had always
body,
had
I
her
was
own
actually
queen size bed.
able to sleep.
Yeah.
Which made it much nicer, so it wasn't quite as sleep deprived.
She thought she was going to be like jumpy, like, oh, there's someone there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think I thought it would be hard to get used to one another, but it
being alone.
really, it kind of just right off the bat, it was like, wow, this is real, and it was like it felt like this is how it's supposed to be. It didn't feel
So
awkward or
for
weird
people
or
who have
anything.
not watched their courtship videos, they didn't, I mean, we have always been a family that hugs other Christians when we see them, and even holy kiss sometimes to other Christians. But these guys did not hold hands. They did not sit super close. Like it was kind of the idea that if Wayland wasn't going to do it with one of the other siblings, then he shouldn't be doing it with Virginia for the courtship. So the first time they kissed was after the wedding. They went into a private room and kissed. So
And we're not opposed to first kisses being public. That was just how we chose to do it.
Right.
How I chose to do it.
That's how she wanted to do it.
So
I don't think that has to be done in private.
Yeah,
Just
I
saying,
mean-
not judging other people. That was
Right.
just personal preference.
I just wanted to say, when you were saying get comfortable with each other, that's like,
Yeah.
they went from nothing to it was fine. What?
What's one thing you thought? Was it the bed thing?
You can go out.
I'd have to
You
think
need-
for a minute if there was something else. What were you going to say?
Sorry, we're putting kids to bed here. So if you're hearing or seeing us talking to people outside the room, it's because one of the kids didn't get something. If that was the same thing as what he had, it's fine. It's weird doing
Yeah.
the camera this way. I don't really know where to look, so I'm sorry for looking all around. No, I know where the camera is. I want to look at these guys. Okay, so next
If
question.
I had a
Kinda
second camera, I
awkward.
could do that.
It'd be kind of awkward to put the camera behind our head.
We could have two camera angles. Are you looking that way?
Yeah.
Okay, next question. What was something that you thought was going to be easier that turned out to be more difficult?
Communication? Is
Like,
that what you think?
I guess that might not be the right word.
Pretty good word.
Understanding each other, maybe? Maybe that is
Yeah.
communication.
Like, understanding one another. I guess that is a good way to put it.
Well, I
Like, we
think,
didn't realize where we differed as much.
yeah, I think,
Nothing that would have changed whether or not we got married if we had known it. But
yeah.
That's good.
I think like understanding how each other reacts to different things. That was
yes,
hard to navigate.
Yes.
So like I react completely different to things than she reacts, obviously. But it was weird to like and to know what I was still figuring this out. Like what do you want me to do when you're feeling this way? Like or like when I'm feeling down or depressed or something's going on, or I'm super stressed out, or I'm more prone to like I want to be alone, like just let me have a little space, but she's like different, like I don't know. So it was
Like, we
It
just
was
had to talk
difficult.
about this the other night.
yeah, just the other night we were just talking about this, like
Like, if I get upset and we're, like, laying on the bed next to each other, I want to roll over away from him. And what I want him to do is come look at me rolled over. Like, I don't want him to just sit there where he was. I want him to, like, chase me.
So you run away and he needs to chase.
yeah. Well,
I don't know.
when I
That
ran
just makes me
away, I'm
feel
like,
better about what.
well, if I run away, I'm like, okay, I'm going away for a reason now.
Leave me alone.
Like, not that I didn't want to be around her or anything, or around you, but
And it's not even, like,
So-
I don't even have to be upset with you. I can be upset about something else and just watch roll over there, and I want you to come.
So now you know when she rolls over, you gotta go get her.
Yep, I had to ask. I didn't know. So I think like navigating through how to figure that out was a little bit difficult, and still is sometimes. But so I didn't realize it'd be quite that hard because you feel like you know each other really well, and you do to a certain extent know each other really well, but then there's still areas where you're like, okay, I didn't know you'd react in that way when that happened, or like I can tend to, when jobs and things aren't going the way I want them to, I tend to get frustrated. And she's trying to figure out how to help me, and I'm like, there's nothing you can do. I just have to figure this out.
22 years later, we're still working on some of that.
And we do actually go out and do things. I realize that so many of things take place. Like, oh, we do our prayer time together while we're in bed. And moving into a new house. We do leave our house.
They do.
I promise.
You're 1,100 miles from your house.
Yes. And we go hiking and we go boating and well, canoeing. I don't know if there's a difference.
Okay, so each of you separately, what is one way that you feel seen or loved by your spouse? Like, what's one thing that they do that you're like, that reminds me they love me?
Sorry, adjusting.
Okay.
Me first. Okay. I really like it if he like puts his arm around me while we're at church or with people.
Public affection.
Public affection.
Public displays of affection? How far does that go?
Most times
Not
just
very
our arm
far.
around there.
He will kiss me in public.
I'll kiss my wife in church.
For me, I think Virginia does a lot she likes to surprise me a lot, and I like that. Like, I like being surprised. So she does all kind of she'll make me something, or she'll arrange the house in a certain way where I wasn't expecting it because she didn't tell me, even though she's been thinking about it for a while, and then she'll surprise me. I get home, it's gonna be different.
Like, when she surprises you, it's not like boo.
No,
like jumping out of the bathroom.
Not like
when
jumping
you
out
get
of the bathroom.
home.
It's
Okay.
the house is arranged differently, or she made this, or she personally put something into it, and that's what I like that. It reminds me that you love me.
And then I like to keep secrets. For a little bit. I'm actually really bad at keeping secrets.
What has been the biblical principle that has helped you the most in this first year of marriage? It could be a verse or just a biblical principle.
For me, right off the bat, I think of dying to yourself in a sense. So just I personally may want something, and don't think that we always have arguments. We don't. We have very many arguments. No. But when I want something and she wants something, one thing that's helped me a lot was be okay, I need to die to myself here and just work through this in a way that's glorifying to the Lord, and not just, well, what do I want? What do I need? It's, we're working through this together. And so I think that's one thing that I've leaned on a lot is okay, this isn't just me thinking about myself now as a young man or as a single man. This is me thinking about her and children and that sort of thing, and not just myself. So dying to self.
The one thing that comes to my mind is I guess the verse would be leaving and cleaving. But the principle being starting your own family, of us having to think through things and talk through things to figure out what we're going to do, and not just rely on, well, this is how it's always been done, but actually figuring out what our family's going to be doing.
This is how your parents did it, and this is how my parents did it.
Now
Or
how
how
our
are we
family
going to do
did
it?
it.
Yeah. No, that's a good one.
That makes sense.
I can make it easier, just do it our way.
I think you said that's not what we were supposed to do. We were supposed to think through decisions.
Exactly. I'm just joking.
Okay, so
I think people assume we think that.
if you had one piece of advice to give to a young person who's walking into a courtship, what would that advice be?
Talk a lot.
To
To each other. Sorry.
Just talk a lot. Just keep talking and talking and talking and talking.
Strangers grocery store. But talk to one another about where each other stands, what the other person thinks, what you believe, why you believe things, and get advice from others. Not the important. See if you two are who God has for one another, but don't just trust your own. Well, I like him, so he must be the one for me, but actually getting biblical counsel from other people of if this is what God has for you.
Yeah, that's really good. I would say one thing that I really enjoyed for like preparing, that I wish that as we got closer to courtship or to engagement, was reading books, like reading things that pertain to the topic, like how do I be a man of God, or how do I lead a family. Like there's still many books that I'm like reading right now that pertain to marriage, because I'm like, I want to know more. So I would say if you're single and you have time and you want to prepare, seek that out diligently and actually find good authors, good books. If you want a couple of good books, I mean, we can name a couple off. I think right now we're reading through William Googe's series, Building a Godly Marriage. It's a 3-book series. That the first one's Building Godly Marriage, and the other ones are about raising children and that sort of thing. What are some of the other ones that we've...
Another one that we read recently, it wasn't about marriage, but J.C. Ryle, it's about prayer. I don't remember the name of it right now.
How to Pray.
How to pray. But just like reading even books about spiritual disciplines that you want to implement in your family, that can be really helpful too.
Yeah, I haven't read it, but I know Vodi Bachman's book on what he must be. A lot of people recommend
I've read that, but I was like, I don't know how old I was when I read that. I read it alone.
So for me, I guess the biggest advice I have obviously read the Word of God and go through it in a way that, okay, what is this asking? What is the Word requiring of me as a godly man to be for a wife and for children, and how to lead my family in that way? So, I guess if you have time, prepare in that way. Like, be diligent to do that, and not just you spend your time doing other things that aren't as helpful, but actually spend your time reading, studying, preparing. And the reason I say that is because I find myself now, the stuff I read, even when Virginia doesn't know about it, I recall things that I read, and I'm like, okay, I can apply this now. Like Ephesians 5 just continually comes in my mind when we're making decisions, when we're doing things. Like Ephesians 5 constantly comes in my mind because I read and studied that so much, and that helps me when I'm trying to make decisions, or when we're going through something hard or anything like that. So I say definitely like read and prepare in that way.
And so what would you give as advice to a couple who's about to get married? Like, you know how sometimes in marriages they have, you can write down on a card something for the couple, that type of thing. What would you give as advice for?
Set good habits early.
Set good habits early. Be patient. Be very patient. Like, don't just get upset right away. Like, I think we've done this very well, and it's like, not boasting ourselves, but I feel like when things have gotten hard, or when we're making decisions, we're very patient with each other.
We're rarely ever angry at each other.
Yeah.
Like, we've been married a year, and
Yeah, I don't think
that
we've
does
ever been
not
angry at
happen
each other.
often.
No. I don't think we've just come to little disagreements, but I'd say definitely like be patient, and for a father, or for a husband, look to Christ as the example. Like, how did Christ love the church? That's how I'm going to love my wife. How did Christ die, lay himself down? That's how I want to do for my wife. How did, he forgive the church? That's how I want to forgive my wife. And, Christ didn't think about himself. He thought about his bride, the church. And so I think as for a husband, I would say study Ephesians 5 a lot and look to Christ as the example. Yeah.
Okay. Anything else you want to add about marriage, or something that happened in marriage that was funny, or anything else you want to add to your marriage video.
I would say one thing. I'm very thankful for where the Lord's blessed us with justice, and spend the time you have as newlyweds and good. Like, spend it well.
Yeah.
Find, like, don't just stay at home. Go. You can stay home and do things and spend time together. But spend time doing stuff together the first year of marriage. Because I think that's enjoy your time while kids are a blessing and we believe that. And I'm very thankful for where we are, and Justice will be born in 2 months, Lord willing. But spend that time, that first year, really getting to enjoy one another and enjoy doing things and learning each other. Because when children come along, you may not be able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
You'll be able to continue that, but you're not going to be able to climb the highest mountains and swim and go canoeing whenever you want to, and like all that. Like, we just went canoeing. Like, hey, it's Sunday after church. There's nothing really going on. Let's just go canoeing, or it's Saturday and we don't have anything going on. No family want us to come over or anything.
We want you to come. Any Saturday you guys want to come, you're welcome to come.
Family has not invited us to come over today.
You're invited to come over every Saturday from now
They
until
live 1,000 miles away. That's why they don't come every Saturday.
Yeah, so we can just go
Our
canoeing.
family does actually like having us around. It's not like, oh, we don't want them here.
We actually have to be like, no, we're not coming over because we want to go do something.
Last 3 Saturdays.
Yeah, we were there last 3 Saturdays. Like, we want to go do something fun. So we'll go do something fun. We'll go hiking. We'll go just enjoying nature outside when it's really nice outside and that sort of thing. So I would definitely say, pray that the Lord would bless you with children. And be, having that attitude, the Lord will bless you with children. But while you don't have children, enjoy that season of life. And because even while you're pregnant, we've been able to go enjoy things. But there's been things like we wanted to go do, but we're like, oh, that's probably not going to be the best thing to do.
Or I don't feel up to that.
Yeah.
Well, and also your relationship is above and beyond the children.
Mm-hmm.
Because after the children are gone, you're, Lord willing, still going to have this relationship to continue. And so marriage comes before the children. But when they're little, they need mama.
Anything else? Oh, I will say another thing. Don't be ashamed of where you live. Yeah, of anything, really. But like, we started off in an apartment for 6 months, and then we moved to a camper that the cows blessed us with to be able to stay in and remodel and stuff. And the Lord had to humble me a little bit because I had this great plan. Like, I was going to go buy a house. I was going to go rent a big place, rent something or buy a house. And, the Lord, again, like he has many, many times, said, nope, that's not what you're going to do. You're going to stay right here in this camper, and you're going to enjoy it, and you're going to, so don't be ashamed of, oh, I don't have a house, I don't have land, I don't have all these things. You have one another, and you have Christ if you're a believer, and all those things will come in time. We still don't have all the things I would want to have, but we still have so many years ahead of us. And so I would say something I struggle with, in a sense, and then like learning to overcome is not to be ashamed, in a sense, and be thankful for what we have. I mean, I'm thankful for the camper and everything, but I'm like, oh, but I want a house, or oh, but I want land, or I want to get horses, and like all this stuff. I'm like, all that's going to come in time. So don't expect to just get married and have a ton of money, because I mean, the Lord blessed us with having a little money before we got married. We don't have a ton of money to just go buy stuff, everything that we want, and
not when what you want is a house.
Yeah, not when you want a house. I wanted the house, and it's so expensive.
But aren't you glad you didn't wait for the house to get the girl?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah.
Still be waiting.
I'd still be waiting.
I was just thinking of our early marriage, and we were anything but well off.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to clarify my statement when I said don't be ashamed of anything.
Sermon.
Like, yes, obviously. I'm supposed to get a sermon?
There you
No. So we're putting the other kids to bed, and they finished listening to the thing I told them they could listen to, so they were coming in to see what the next thing was, hoping I was going to let them listen to the next episode of their thing, but no.
So, like, obviously, if you sin, there is a sense of shame in sin. That's proper. But the sense of, even if you've sinned, even if you're embarrassed about something, not being so ashamed that you won't talk to your spouse about it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, always being open with your spouse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, be open from the get-go of everything.
Yeah.
Throughout your marriage, you should be open. But from the get-go, be open about everything.
Mm-hmm. Is there anything else?
Anything else to add? If you don't,
Just
that's okay.
enjoy it.
Be in a good church. Like,
Yeah.
find a good church. If you're not in a good church, I when we first got married, like, I could go to my elder and talk to him, and
You still can.
yeah, I still can. But like, we can, be in a good church where you can get advice from godly men and people that know you best, and hopefully know your spouse if well, that sort of thing. So be in a good church.
Well, and I think that helps too, because like you were saying before, you want to figure out what is right for your own family.
Mm-hmm.
And so while we do spend a lot of time talking with you guys, and I'm sure you spend a lot of time talking to your parents, there's always that nice time to talk to somebody who's not one of the
I
sets of
raised
parents.
you this way, and
Right.
now you're thinking differently.
Right, exactly. Having someone else who will take you to God's word about it, not just the traditions you've always known.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
okay.
No, we're
You
not
have something
singing.
else?
No, I think that's it.
Okay, so if you guys have any other questions for Virginia Whalen, they're only here a couple more days, but if you write a comment here, we will either try to get them to answer it on video or we will get an answer for you. But that's all we have, right? Is that okay? Can we ask you questions? Okay, and we'll keep up with them about baby justice, and we'll make sure that you guys all get to see pictures when baby justice comes. So we will see you guys next time on Hurting Little Cows to the Glory of God.
Bye.
Bye.